Ernest Hemingway said, "Life breaks everyone, but afterward, some are strong at the broken places." It's just as well that that's true, because 2020 has been one for the books. In the Bible, Israel's King David said, "There is but a step between me and death." And we feel that way in these United States these days in the midst of this pandemic. In the holiday season and afterward, there'll be over 300,000 chairs that are empty in American homes because of the death of loved ones because of COVID. It's estimated that there's one American every minute who is dying because of the pandemic and the effects of the virus. We see that we're at a time more isolated, more alone, more frightened perhaps than we've ever been in our lifetime. These are not easy days at all. I heard the story recently of a grandmother catching COVID and then passing away. And her grieving family said, "We hadn't visited her since May." And they'd stayed away because they didn't want to expose her to the virus. It's just been that kind of year, and it's been difficult for so many folks. There's never been a time, perhaps in our lives, when we've been unable to visit our relatives. We haven't been able to go to the hospitals. We haven't been able to go to folks' homes or assisted living facilities. Even beyond that, we faced an unprecedented experience in 2020, in some instances, of not even being able to give our loved ones a proper burial. It's been amazing that that's happened. It's so damaging to the human psyche because we're not able to pay tribute to those who are so close to us. And we're being robbed of a very crucial step in closure and in the grieving process. It brings to mind an exchange that took place in Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller. He writes these words, "Willie Loman never made a lot of money. His name was never in the paper. He wasn't the finest character that ever lived. But he's a human being, and something terrible is happening to him. Attention must be paid. He's not to be allowed to fall into his grave like an old dog. Attention must finally be paid to such a person." We've been robbed of that in this country in 2020. My hope and prayer is that that changes very soon in the coming new year. But as a minister and someone who's lost people very close to me this year, I want to share a few thoughts that might help you get through this difficult time during the grieving process. The first thing that we can do is to remember the happy thoughts that we associate with our loved one. The mind is a repository of wonderful memories, and all of us can recall easily those times when we shared meals together and experiences, trips, vacations, going to church together, going to ball games, just the things that make up life's rich pageant. Remember those thoughts and keep that loved one alive in that way. And another way we can do that is by speaking of them often. Years ago, I attended church with a wonderful lady who had said farewell to her husband. And I made it a point for the next several years, every time I would see her, to speak of her husband and to talk about the things that we had done together and funny things that had happened and profound bits of advice that he had given me. And she came to me after that and said, "Thank you." And I said, "For what?" She said, "Because you always mention his name, and other people, they don't even seem to notice that he's gone." Well, we can mention those loved ones, those dearly departed ones, and in that way we can keep them alive. And beyond that, most of us believe that this earth is not all that there is, that this life is not the only life that we'll experience. And because of that, we can be comforted with the thought that there will be a resurrection and there'll be a reunion that we can enjoy one day with those dearly departed ones. When asked to describe his legendary television show's success, Seinfeld, co-creator and writer Larry David summed it up this way: "No hugging and no learning." I suppose as a philosophy of a TV show, that's all right. Seinfeld was hilarious and it was a ratings juggernaut. But as a philosophy to get through life and to cope with loss, that's not very helpful. We need hugging and we need learning. Mostly, we need friends and family to surround us with their care and their comfort when we're grieving a loss of a loved one. We need a spiritual faith community like a church or a synagogue that can help us as well. We need hugs and we need learning. And in a time when we're socially distanced, when we're quarantining at home, when we can't shake hands and we have to give a chicken wing, a lot of us are ready to get back to normal. My thought and my prayer for you this year is that we do get back to normal. I believe that better times are coming. I take inspiration in the words of a song that was penned and sung by the British musician Ray Davies of the Kinks. Davis had been through a difficult time in his life 40 years ago, and he wanted to believe that better times were on the horizon. So he wrote a song called Better Things. And here's part of what he shares in the song. Here's wishing you the bluest sky and hoping something better comes tomorrow. Hoping all the verses rhyme and the very best of choruses to follow all the doubt and sadness. I know that better things are on the way. Here's hoping all the days ahead won't be as bitter as the ones behind you. Be an optimist instead, and somehow happiness will find you. Forget what happened yesterday. I know that better things are on the way. I know you've got a lot of good things happening up ahead. The past is gone. It's all been said. So here's to what the future brings. I know tomorrow you'll find better things. I hope tomorrow you'll find better things. My friend, keep the faith. Don't give up. Better times are in the future and on the horizon. For our friends at the Roller Funeral Homes, we wish you the happiest of New Year's.